computer first. Welcome everyone to the Improvising Harpist, and I have the fabulous Ursula Burns with me, the Dangerous Harpist from Ireland. Woo! And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I have just a few things I need to do to get everything set up here on Facebook as well. So we'll do that. All right, just takes me just a couple seconds here. I haven't figured out how to make this go faster. Okay, almost there. One more thing I have to do. This is being live streamed, so it'll show up in the Facebook group and as a repeat as well, but it'll also be on my YouTube channel, and I'll post that to my page and post it to your page. And so there'll be lots of opportunities there for people to find us. And what I need to do.
I've just realized my name is Miss Moon. It's not Miss Moon. It was a theater thing. It's a theater thing on Zoom.
Oh, there's a way to change that.
Is there? Where is it? Is it?
Oh, let's see.
Oh no, don't worry if it's going to be boring.
It's going to be under settings or something. I'm not exactly sure where it is. We'd have to do a little bit of hunting to find it. Let me see.
I don't want to mess up the connection by.
Not a problem. Just almost there. And wonderful. All right. So this is going. I started this new passcode, and so to make sure that everybody can get in so that they can come and see us. All right, wonderful. All right, so let's officially start here. I'm delighted to welcome Ursula Burns to the Improvising Harpist podcast, and other people may be joining us as we go along here. So, but what I love to do, Ursula, is I've got 6 questions that I kind of keep me on target here. But I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do, and then I'll ask you some questions.
Okay, I'm Ursula Burns. I go under the name of the Dangerous Harpist. That was kind of a joke because everybody knows that harps aren't dangerous. My whole thing has been about, well, I'm from Belfast and grew up there and from a family of musicians like yourself. But I wasn't interested in classical music wasn't available because I couldn't read. I have just very severe dyslexia, and then traditional music, I just never had the calling to learn. I was more interested in composition, and I started on the piano. When I could reach the piano, I could kind of play, and I was improvising. I was just always just playing and singing, just enjoying the piano. And I resisted the harp because my mum was a harpist and she wanted me to play and I didn't want to play. So, and I certainly didn't want to be told what to do. And I felt like if I started the harp, I'd be told what to do. So I didn't play. And then I went off for the horse-drawn theatre company and everything. And then I came back to Belfast and my mum said, hey, she'd bought a Paraguayan harp in a chemist on the Falls Road. And she said, if you come out and play this gig sitting beside me, I'll give you 60 quid. So I started for the money and I didn't even practice. I went out, I knew her repertoire and I knew my grandfather's repertoire. He was a fiddle player from the Highlands of Donegal, the Bluestack Mountains. And so I sat beside my mum that day in the basement of Belfast Castle, and people were eating their dinner, and I just started picking out like the bass notes, and then I had a natural disposition for harmony, so I was picking out the bass and putting in some harmony, and literally within a couple of months I was out doing gigs on my own. It just came because the tunes were all accessible to me, and Mum had a vast repertoire. It just sort of osmosed. I could just do it very easily. And in fairness, it felt like a bit of a gift, but I was really, really crap at everything else, and I failed all my exams, and I had like I thought I was stupid, so I was that's why I ended up doing the funny stuff, because I really, really had a rough time in the education system. And then when I was going to school, it was during the Troubles. It was horrible, I didn't enjoy it. And just like actually what you said when we were talking, I don't know if that was when we were already on, but you were saying it was like an escape, or your experience of the escape that music was, or how you find something there. And I felt like I could just naturally do it. So, and people just assumed that I was a harpist, so I just played along. But I did it for the money. I had comedy songs like "I Do It for the Money." I wasn't even joking.
That's so interesting.
It's not true, because although I did it for the money, I was doing the background harping for the money, and all the background harping is improvised on relative stuff that people would know, but every penny that I earned was put back in. Like, I saved up to get a proper harp. I started making albums immediately. Like, I was writing songwriting. I wanted to come to the harp like a songwriter would pick up a guitar. I was more interested in the indie scene. I didn't care about, I find harps quite frankly boring, and I was not interested. So I was more interested in going out with bands, songwriting like that, and all the gigs I was improvising, and I was playing known stuff, improvisations on known Celtic tunes or Paraguayan tunes or folk tunes or modern tunes, pop tunes, whatever came into my head. Then all the improvisation was creating the bedrock for the composition, which was my real love, and recording in the studios. And back in those days, it cost a fortune to make an album, and I just kept making albums. And so I was putting every penny I earned back in until I had my son, and then it got harder to plow money into it, but I did do it for many years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is so interesting to me. There's so much parallel between our stories, and that you're steeped. If you're lucky enough, and I do recognize that I'm lucky enough to have been steeped in a childhood of harmony. Yeah. My parents were church singers. They took it very seriously. They practiced. My father picked his church by who had the best choir director and who had the biggest organ. And I was, because I was a good kid and I didn't kick chairs very much. They would let me sit in the tenor section with my dad at rehearsals, night after week, year after year, Sunday after Sunday. And so when people ask me, how do you know how to harmonize? And this is one of my challenges, is like, how do I teach harmony when it's so intrinsically, like, I just know what's going to sound good.
With my mum, and it's also when you're working with a family member, it's more than just harmony. She would start singing, I didn't even know the words. I'd be lip syncing, like copying the sounds, and harmony came naturally because it was my mum, and also the music. When you said your father allowed you to sit in because you didn't kick the chairs or whatever, so you were exposed to music. So was I. My mum was writing. She was a freestyle harpist and not taught, which is interesting, but more Celtic. And she was setting Yeats' poetry to music, and that, being around so much poetry, so much music, so much the family, the wider family. There was sort of classical and religious and classical on my dad's side, traditional on my mum's side, but being constantly exposed to that type of music, it's more than that. I do think it's in your cells, it's in your DNA. You're born with it. I also think it's this thing, nature nurture. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
both. I think it's also both because my son is not interested. He doesn't play. It's also nature. He's been exposed. He's been taken. I've taken him around the world. I've taken him to every festival. I made him trip over every instrument on the planet Earth to try and get him interested in something, and he just didn't care. So it is also something that comes through your DNA. It's like your calling. It's a vocation. It's a path. It's some. It's. I think it's an element of both.
I think it's an element of both too, and the people who show up to the improvising harpist group and come regularly to the things that they have this calling. They
Yeah.
wouldn't be there if they didn't feel this calling. And
Calling.
you've been playing harp long enough your whole life that you just say, oh, I'm a harpist, and people go, oh.
Not my whole life. So I only started when I was 25.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. What, 24? I was 24. I was 24 when I started
Yeah.
to play. So I wouldn't touch it as a child. I wouldn't touch it as a teen. I was playing the piano. I was writing songs on the piano when I'm in teens.
Uh-huh.
And the piano was to me like the sea, expansive, rhythmic, all the notes there. And I still compose on piano because the harp is more limited with the keys and putting it in the key, and the piano offers me everything. So when I start to compose for a company, I just start on the piano. It gives me, and then sometimes I'll modify or change things gradually, put things onto the harp. But for me, the piano is really, really. My first love was piano.
Uh-huh. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. As a matter of
Interesting.
fact, for the first 10 years I was playing the harp, I didn't even like it. You
You're
know,
doing it for the money at that point.
and it was fun stuff. But and then when I was able to do comedy on the harp, I see my dad was a funny guy. He's funny, really funny, but he would sing funny songs. He'd sing dirty songs, funny songs. He liked to get people laughing. He liked to get people engaged. And my mum was like a harpist and composer and all that. So I got like literally them and both of them in equal measure, which is why I only started enjoying the harp in 90. I started in playing in 94, but I started it into my business as 90 in 95, and that was to literally when I could be funny with the harp. That was what I liked because it was a way of communicating. It wasn't just. I found the instrument quite sweet, and I found it quite. I was more interested in kind of like indie bands and the rock and roll scene and all that, and it was limiting compared to the piano. So initially, it was a sort of a slow burner. I literally started for the money, and then it got me when I wasn't looking. It snuck up behind me, and then it just consumed me and been my everything for 30 years. But initially, it wasn't love at first sight.
Oh,
It was, yeah.
that's so interesting. So my story's a little bit like that, not completely like that, but I came into all of this in a backwards way because I decided I wanted to play the harp when I was in my early 40s. And
Wow.
I had first seen the harp when I was 6 years old, and I wanted to play back then. But she said you have to learn the piano first, and I wasn't interested. I wanted to play the harp.
Well, then you should
So
just play. She was wrong.
she was wrong. She was wrong. Although I will say that having learned, I did learn to play piano. And I'm really glad that I did because of what you're talking about, that you can see what you're doing. You have all the notes available to you. You can, yeah, I find certain types of things I'll compose first on the piano because it's easier and then take it to the harp and so forth. But when I was when I was in my early 40s, I decided that I was, long story, a lot of people know this story, decided that I was going to play the harp. And this is a while ago, before Zoom. And I was living in Hawaii, not really known as a harp mecca. The nearest teacher was 100 miles away on a goat path. I'm not driving over there every week. So I found this one lady who would give me lessons by Skype. And so I learned what she had to offer, which was healing harp and improvisation at the bedside. which had never been on my mind ever. I was like not ready for that at all. But it was like, okay, the universe is giving me this path in, kind of like the universe is giving you this path in, and then it snuck up behind me. Like, I I stopped the training so I could go record my first album because I got so excited about the modes and the keys and the all la la. It was just really, and I haven't stopped. Now it's
Once that passion kicks in, it grabs you. By the way, I've always felt an absolute deep connection with Hawaii. And I was devastated about the Maui fires. I wrote a song actually. Um, I don't plan to sing it now because so much has happened in the last month that I haven't performed it, so I don't even think I could sing it for you. But I wrote a song about the Maui fires, Lahaina,
mm-hmm.
and I felt a real deep connection with the land, the people, and what happened there. And I found it very, very upsetting. I was watching a guy, Maui Real Estate, and I felt a big resonance with that land. And it's in my radar to go there because I feel so called to go there, right? And then I looked at my PA system last week when I got home from Paraguay. I was in Paraguay, came home, and I was setting up the system to do a gig, and then realized it's called Maui Go. And I was, oh, it's another sign.
It is Maui Go.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I lived there on the Big Island for 15 years, and I'm planning to move back next year.
go to the
So,
songwriting festival. Are
yep,
you?
yep,
Visit?
yep. Planning to go back. So what I love to do, just and then I want to ask you more questions,
Okay.
is I'm working on transcribing slack key guitar music onto
Yeah,
the lever harp.
I didn't
And
even know I heard of it. So I want to find that video. I'm out on the road at the minute. I'm not at home, so I haven't had a chance. But when you mentioned the Slack key, I'm like, I have to watch that video. So
yeah,
is it on the Facebook group or is it on the YouTube
it's
or
well, what I sent you was a podcast,
the
so it's
podcast? That's
audio. Yeah,
audio.
you just click on the link and I'll send it to you. So okay, so you're playing a Paraguayan harp, which I
Yeah.
know because I used to have one. I just departed company with this wonderful instrument, and I loved my Paraguayan harp because uh, it's got such a big sound. It's so lightweight. It makes sense from a harp making point of view that the harp is with the strings going up the center of the head. Can you show everybody how the strings go up the center, how it's different from
Oh, no, it was different. I've never
yeah,
played it really. Do you mean like this? Show
yeah,
people?
so you can so we can see the strings. So normally, so what I want to, my point is that normally on a Celtic harp or a pedal harp, the strings are
Right.
attached to the side of the neck.
Had a better idea.
Yeah, and when it's and so what that means is all those harps are going to die what I call a taco death. They're going to fold into a taco at some point.
No,
But
they've
they
died in my hands.
but yours, but the Paraguayan harps with the strings going up the center, they actually hold themselves together.
Yeah, the
And so they
tension.
don't have to have as much string tension.
Yeah.
And you get this brighter, rich, vibrant, wonderful sound. And oh, the guitar tuner, so you never have to lose your key ever,
You
right?
don't. I love these keys. I'm the same height as my harps, so it just feels right. I'm 5 foot, and the harp is just like here.
Uh-huh.
um,
How
and
much does it weigh?
I don't know. It's a
Lightweight.
harp. It's light. They're light enough. They're not heavy and they're not light. I've never weighed it, but when I fly with it, I think it's comes in about 25 something kg,
Uh-huh.
24. But the bass is very deep and
Yes.
loud, and that's what I love. And the tack is short, so you can play a lot of notes and embellish and flamboyant. And I like that. I like you got if you got notes, play them all. And that's good for the dynamic. I'm a big fan of playing everything at once, lots of it all the time. Give me more. I just like a lot. So I can't help that. That's just my nature with the harp. I find the harp, like my mum plays class or Celtic harp, and I find the melodies ring, and it's a totally different beast. It's a totally different beast. But the Paraguayan harp, I think it works with my humor and my performance. It's lighter. I can do stuff with it, and
Uh-huh.
um, I've just look. I went on a journey looking for the perfect harp. My harps are made by Gustavo, and he's Gustavo Arias. He's in Paraguay. I met him last month. They invited me out to the festival,
Uh-huh.
and finally met Gustavo, who makes my harps. And he's if any of your listeners want to look up, it's paraguayanharps.com, and I highly recommend these harps. I adore them, and I just think they're. I couldn't look any further. It's Paraguayan all the way for me, you know. And
Nice.
never even heard a Paraguayan harper play until last month when I was at the festival, and then I felt like I heard them all, and I completely loved the music of Blas Fleur, who Fleur. I it's hard to get the pronunciation right. The compositions, and it blew my mind. And when I came home, I was on fire, you know, just totally, because I've been playing Paraguayan harp for next year, it's 30 years, and I'd never even met one. And I thought in my mind that I had this hybrid that was Paraguayan technique and Celtic technique. I was putting that in my blogs, that's what I thought. And I got there and went, oh my God, what I'm doing, it's not Celtic, but it's not Paraguayan either. I thought it was even more confused. I was like, jeepers, well, how do, because their system is reversed, it's back to front. And then when I got up to play, they were like, is the tuning going to bother you? The reverse system going to bother you? And I was like, it's only F and C, it's only blue and red, it's not going to bother me. And then I got on stage and it bothered me.
Uh-huh. Right. They swap the colors for their on their harps.
It's
Yeah.
like driving on the side of the road on steroids. It's like, it's really hard to, I had to not do all my, I couldn't properly lean in and play properly. I was quite freaked out. Once I got my head around it, I was okay, I could do it, but it took time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So one of the next questions I want to ask you about any upcoming shows that you have. Do you have upcoming shows?
I do. This weekend I'm in with a company. I'm down south. I'm in Southern Ireland in a place, Achill Island. I work with a company called Circus 250, and they do circus. So in my world of music, I work in music. I would do like background. I don't advertise for doing background gigs like weddings and funerals and corporate work. I do all that just if when people ask me. I don't advertise, but people ask me, and I do those gigs. So it's for me, it's a money earning thing, and that's I look at that. I don't mind if someone calls me up and says, "Oh, would you play background music?" I'm delighted. It's you are doing it for the money, and you're also doing it for the improvisation, for the joy of playing. I enjoy a background music gig sometimes even more than an upfront show because there's less pressure, and you just sit in the corner, wear the right clothes, smile, turn up on time, leave, and send your invoice. That's great, and it's great practice and tune into the people who are in the room and just deliver the music. So that's great. But the when I work with the circus, like tomorrow night's cabaret in the Valley Hotel, and it'll all be circus artists. And then on the Saturday, it'll be more circus shows. And then Sunday, I have a little truck. So it's a Suzuki Carry, and I built a gypsy wagon on the back, and the whole roof lifts up. And I put Maui Go speaker in, and bubbles and smoke, and I play harp in the courtyard while people are doing circus around me. So it's kind of like a background music outdoor atmos mobile venue, which I also drive around. It's got clouds on it, and I drive it around Ireland.
I've seen pictures of that, and in fact, I posted a picture of that when I was doing the promotion for today. Was you sitting in the back of your truck? I've never seen anything like that. I think that's so cool.
It's so cool. Well, what happened was in COVID, I refused to play ball, park it there. I was very much skeptical about what we were being asked to do, so I said no. So I wasn't allowed to go inside. And I've been self-employed for 27 years at that point, and I'm like, I am not giving up my self-employed status, and I'm not getting that out from the government. So I bought a truck with the money I had left, all of it and a little bit more, and got the venue built by Paddy Bloomer, and we thrashed out what I wanted, my needs, and he came up with the design and built it for me. And I spent then that year in the back of the truck freezing. In Ireland's freezing, and that has its own problems with weather, raining on your gear and all that. So
right.
But it was a way of me maintaining. It was an act of rebellion, and it was a way of me maintaining my self-employed status in the face of being forced to do something I didn't want to do, to go inside. I was totally never to travel again, and you know, I take very active measures. Swim in the sea this morning on this island, you know, and it's freezing. It's winter here, so I swim and all that to keep healthy. And I swam every day for 3 years, 3 months, and 3 weeks there in the freezing sea.
Mm.
So, and I've been healthy the whole time. I haven't been,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Blessed with good
So
health.
take effort, I put effort into looking after keeping health. I think we have to, because we're being bombarded with toxins, and in the water, in the air, in the food, and all that.
For sure.
And that brings me on to my other work, which is calling all that stuff out. I do a lot of comedy shows, and sometimes they're not even funny. Because I talk about that stuff, and all my songwriting, my performance, and all that goes into the environmental stuff, not in a agenda type way, but I deal with very difficult subjects, and that is hard. And that's also why I call myself the Dangerous Harpist too. It's not just because the performance work is like on the boat, or like putting myself on stilts, or playing the harp. It's like they're performance things, but also the lyrical content of what I'm talking about is quite challenging. And sometimes I'm afraid to sing my own songs. And sometimes I can't. I just spent a year there where I felt like I couldn't even play in my own hometown. So, and I do censor myself a lot on stage, because if I dared to say everything I thought was going on, I'd get in real trouble. So I struggle with being brave enough about it all. So sorry if that's got a bit heavy, but
no, that's okay. So one of the, I don't know, it's sort of a joke that the difference between a crazy person and a shaman is the shaman knows when to keep her mouth shut.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
You see and know things. I think as artists, we see and know things that other people can't see, and part of our job is to see for other people. But sometimes, we also have to take care of ourselves, our own self-care. It's like what it feels.
Yeah, I went in very, very much to self-preservation last year. I went to Edinburgh Festival. I go to Edinburgh a lot, and I write a comedy show. And I went to Edinburgh in 2022, and the art scene really pissed me off. I just felt that, the cancel culture's got so ridiculous that you're just not allowed to talk about certain things, or you'd get I had to go into self-preservation. So and next year, you asked me what I was doing, what's coming up. So next year I've got a project looming with the Circus here, a composing job for a theatre show, which I did 10 years of composing for theatre for mostly kids shows.
Mhm.
So that, and it's a while since I've done a theatre show. I haven't had the energy. So there's also, I want to give a talk on the whole censorship thing and what happened in Ireland pre-bunting. So, like in the 1600s, Queen Elizabeth said, "Kill the harp, hang the harpers, and burn their instruments," and that's you know they were very, there was like a change in culture and the language was dying out. It was like so I actually want to give quite a talk about my journey as an artist and how I came to be the Dangerous Harp, like what the fact that I'd chosen the marketing of the Dangerous Harpist without connecting it to the fact that the bardic harpers were considered dangerous.
Mhm.
They were considered dangerous because they were writing songs and material about challenging things, about politics, about they were the news. And then I've suddenly found myself after the 3 years that I've been in it, um, realizing that I'm struggling with censorship and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it was only when I was at Edinburgh Festival in 2022 and I was self-censoring that the penny started to drop, that there was a resonance and a deeper because I thought that I was completely breaking new ground with the songwriting and um, the way I was approaching it. I thought I was totally breaking new ground, and then I realized I probably actually not completely, but elements of it tap into a very old tradition, which
Right.
is, yeah, I'm talking about the issues that we face. So it was considered then dangerous then.
Well, it certainly was dangerous then. You risk your life doing it back then, and you're certainly risking something significant by talking about that stuff now.
Your livelihood, because
Yeah.
you know it's people's perception of you. Then they just don't book. There's a slight knock-on effect when people. Look, I suppose let's not go too far down there because
Okay.
talking about this, I
Yeah.
will just go really heavy. I'll tell you some hard.
Yeah. But so I can generalize this a little bit for everybody to say that um, as artists, what I was saying a minute ago, we face these choices, and the more you delve into the world of improvisation, what that really means long term is you're delving into the world of composition and self-expression.
Yeah,
And so all of us, face at some point the fear of what if it isn't good enough, what if people don't like it, what if it's too threatening, what if it's too scary, what if it's whatever. We artists have to, this is where I recommend writing, having a journal where you can go and work this stuff out, or good friends that you can talk these things through with.
so therapist.
Your therapist. I recommend a really amazing book called The Artist's Way.
I know the
That's
artist way.
Yeah, just came out with their 30th anniversary edition, and I'm going through it with a friend right now. We're doing it again ourselves, and how do you navigate those waters? I think is an important skill to have as an artist,
Yeah.
and I think that's the we face that as we're improvising and we're composing. We get down into that.
Yeah, yeah, and also because I have a whole repertoire. I have a whole load of compositions that are musical. They're pieces of music on the harp, which I've never put out or released or anything like that. But they are not challenging. They're just, they're music. And it's easy for me to perform. I've been performing all my life. So I'm not challenged by them. It's the the challenge for me is in comedy, in trying to call out, trying to speak about topical issues, trying to, that's that is just the point of challenge. And how I got by it this year was just to book less comedy shows. I did a few shows that I consider to be like mass rocks, where I didn't advertise them online, and we did them underground. And then the host of the venue got up and said, "This is Ursula. She supports free speech, and if you don't like what she has to say, you can leave." It's the door's accessible for everyone. That was fantastic, and they were the best gigs of my life, because I literally felt supported. I felt protected. And some people think I'm hard, and I am hard. I am hard. I've been earning my living in the arts for 30 years. Is so hard. It's so hard. I'm on my own. I am, I've brought up a child. I'm not invincible. I do get hurt. Like, I do find it difficult. I'm constantly making choices about what gigs to take, or what, I'm a human, so it's actually quite, I do get affected if I've gone too far on stage, and I feel like I've upset a few people. I feel upset by that, so I'm constantly trying to feel where the boundary is and keep it good, so.
Yep. Yeah. So do you teach?
Oh, I've never taught. I didn't learn. I've never had a lesson, and I don't teach.
You don't teach. Okay. So what I would love to do with the last bit of time that we have together here is to ask you for advice for people who are improvising or starting to improvise, or some tips or tricks that you've learned along the way that make it easier.
Yes. So I tend to do stream of consciousness playing. So the way it depends. You see, you don't know what some people really resonate with the notes, some people really resonate. It's a different side of the brain.
Right.
I would recommend activating the side of your brain that's like I had one side of my brain fired up and over creative, and the other side's asleep and totally like can't work. So I've had to work to try and even out my brain and to stimulate the other side, and I can, and it is possible. I recommend working like that if you're working from the other side of the brain. In terms of technique, I love Paraguayan music. I like all the notes, and I would look into the Paraguayan style. Like, I love their, this arpeggio thing. I also like doing a really flamboyant start, and then doing the same thing but spacing it out, or making it quiet, or taking it up high. And I like mixing the styles of things. So I kind of use it's probably easier for me to play something for you than try and talk about playing something.
Yeah, let's do that.
So the songs, when I write a song, it's more structured. I never improvise. I improvise to compose it, but then to get on stage, I have to put for the lyrics and the chords, it has to be a structure. But in the instrumental, I always never know how that's going to come out. So I go into improvisation in the middle of a structured thing. Whereas if it's just background music, I will just improv the whole time, but keep moving to known. People don't know what they like, but they like what they know. That's my mum. My mum said that. So. But anyway, I'll give you an example of kind of how I play with my style. And this is a song, just a simple song. A little bird came to my window and chirped a special song. A little bird came to my window and wrote it on. instrumental, because that's when I'm more likely to do something different. I love this. I do this a lot. And then a run up, you know, like you're going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, get a rhythm going, and then put a run up underneath. That's it.
I love that.
I love this as well. So this is the harmony thing coming in. I find it hard to break down what I'm doing there. It's like if I tried to teach my son to drive. I've no clue how to drive, but I've been driving for years. Like that with the harp. It's like it's so automatic that oh yeah. I love picking out a bass harmony on actually there's no such thing as a wrong note. You see, the way I feel about the Paraguayan harp is just play any note, pick a note. And to be honest, I find playing complicated things really easy. But you see, if you said to me just, you know, happy birthday, it's like, oh shit, I gotta put the notes in there. Sorry, Chris, in the right place. You know, and it's so simple that it's that kind of thing where I love lots and loud. That's how I like it. I'm a bit brash. It's
Beautiful.
very brash. Tacky. Well, and then in the comedy,
it's engaging, I feel.
Yeah. In the comedy, it's more about connection with the audience, but I have to be able to do all that automatically underneath and remember the chords. And then where I go off on improv, so on the comedy, the harp, I'll be feeding off what the audience is saying and changing it every time. I'm going off in an improvisation, but it's on my words. And the harp is just automatically, because we're in tune, it took me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years before I could properly sing comfortably and play at the same time. But in order to do comedy, you have to be able to sing, play, and break out of it and engage.
Right.
It's more making the people come with you than it is than delivering something that sounds beautiful. So it has to be automatic underneath.
Right.
When I go off engaging with the audience, then the harp will just naturally follow me. My hands will just do it without me understanding what they're doing. The harp will just follow along my voice.
That's so interesting. So I know that a lot of the people in the Facebook group have questions about how do you talk and play at the same time.
Yeah.
And
so do you know how you do it? And I'll tell you exactly how to do it. And it's very, very easy. Get somebody to book you and pay you a lot of money, say like 250 quid, right? And you turn up to the gig and then people come up to you and they say, oh, I love the harp. I wanted to play harp from I was 6. Force yourself to keep playing. I'll give you an example. Force yourself to chat to them and keep the tune going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, you talk to me now.
Yeah. Oh, I love the harp. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, well, I started playing when I was 25, not when I was 6. So you just have to chat. It fries your brain, but this is what I mean about the brain. Get both of your brains, sides of your brain working, and that's a brilliant way of doing it. music. They don't want you sitting chatting to the people, but the people all come up and say hello. So
Right.
you just play away while you're chatting to people, and that's how you get comfortable doing it on stage.
Yep.
If you go out and you just do it until you can do it, and it's really hard, you're doing two things at once, but there you go, that's how you do it. Like that.
Lots of practice.
Well, it's just people coming up and saying hi, and I just force myself to try and talk to them. And then what I find is some tunes are easier to do it with. So if I'm in a slightly more difficult tune that needs to be, it's hard to talk doing that. So if someone comes up to talk to me, I'm more likely to go into something that's more easy for me to talk with.
Yeah.
I can play that in my sleep, but the other one I have to think. You see, this is it. You have to almost get to the point where you can automatically, your music is flowing. You can play, and there's things that you're really comfortable playing with. And when you have to really use your brain, it's very hard to hold a conversation.
Right. Yeah.
It's getting to that point where it's automatic, where your fingers are so comfortable. Also, practice it at home. Just as you're playing, just start calling out things around the room. Just start to, even if it's just describing your surroundings. This is all the craft. This is what takes 30 years. Like this, I'm nearly 30 years in now, and I'm very comfortable on stage. I'm very comfortable performing, but it's been years of toil and pain and work and devotion. And I've been harp, I play harp every day and make every penny of the last 30 years has been earned by harp, and many more spent on harps and albums. Oh my God, what I spent on albums. I could have bought a house. I still rent a wee awful house because I've spent all my money on equipment and harps and albums.
Right. Yep. We all live that life.
It's called gear acquisition syndrome.
Exactly. Well, we're kind of getting towards the end here, so I wanted to ask you if there's any last parting thoughts you wanted to share with viewers who are watching this later, and ask you to play something else. I would love for you to play something else as well.
Will I play you with just a tune with no vocals, just a harp piece?
Sure.
I wrote this in Paraguay when they invited me out to the festival. I was staying at Eliza Lynch's house, and she was the Queen of Paraguay, and she came from Cork, Ireland.
Oh my goodness.
Garden in her house, and I wrote this piece of music. So it's called it's very hard to get the pronunciation. Harding de Eliza Lynch. apologize. I did tune before I came on, but this is the problem, you know, they go out of tune, don't they? But it's really badly out of tune. I have not even finished the song for you.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand. I call that stinky cheese when it's the harp has the sound of gorgonzola.
It's yeah, it's just we're. This is the problem as well with. I'm working out in the cold a lot, and then I come inside to somewhere like this, and it's actually toasty warm in here in this beautiful house. So also I treat my harps pretty badly, like they get shoved in the truck and I'm driving around, and it's just I do a high volume of gigs, so they're. I almost, you know, I need a couple. I need to rotate them or have a couple. What I would really want is a travel harp that's a little bit lighter, and then I can keep this for good things,
Mm-hmm.
not trail it around outside, and then I won't have that type of problem
Right.
there. It's hard. I finding it I'm finding it harder to work in the cold now. Especially when I went to Paraguay and it was so lovely and roasting warm, and then
I know. I know the tropics are calling to me.
working outside a lot.
So I want to invite you anytime you've got gigs coming up to post them in the improvising harpist. Let us know if you're doing any live streams. You know, we've got people all over the world in the group that would love to tune in and hear your music. And I just want to thank you so much for making time for us today, and really, and your story is unique and beautiful. And that's what I love, is sharing all these different paths that the harp can take us down. Everyone's got a good path. Like there's no wrong notes.
I want to thank you because it's such, I haven't had very many conversations with the harping world. I hadn't reached out or engaged with the harping world in any way because I was operating in comedy, circus, performance, theatre, in different worlds. I was in different worlds, and the first experience I've had with the harping world, I went to Edinburgh Festival last year, and they were amazing. I met some friends with good German, some German harpists now, and I do know she plays very freestyle, and she's a classical harpist, so it was mind blowing for me. And then meeting all the Paraguayans like Gustavo, who made my harp, and Blas, and all the Sixto, and all the, oh my god, they're masters. So it's just an honor for me to be accepted by the harping world and invited on. So it's really very appreciated that I'm very appreciative that you asked me, and honoured. So, and your work is great. I'm really looking forward to doing a deep dive now into more of your podcasts and your YouTube and all that.
Oh, thank you so much. So thank you everyone for listening in. If you made it this far, thanks for listening all the way to the end, because there's always good stuff. You never know what's going to happen at the end. And I want to thank you again, Ursula, for joining me. And we'll see you out in the Facebook group, and keep in touch.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.